When a man does not know what harbor he's making for, every wind is the right wind. Seneca wrote that quote about 2000 years ago, and when I first saw it, I thought, okay, another, quote about having a direction in life. No, there are probably a billion of them already. But then I started thinking about the word wind in this quote, and it just made the whole thing way more comfortable for me. And I finally kind of understood it. Because wind in this quote is all the stuff that, feels really good when you are trying to get your life together. It's, things like morning routines, gym, reading, ticking of a list, watching business video, all of it giving you a feeling you are moving towards without ever necessarily asking where, right? And a year ago, I had a ridiculous amount of wind in my life. An enormous amount, I would say, because I was waking up at 5:30 every single day of that summer, going to the gym also every day, posting TikToks, eating 3000 calories, and the most prominent, I was building this social media marketing agency. I already told that story in my recent videos where the entire agency was basically a Webflow website. If you don't know, is this website constructor. A yacht wallpaper on on all of my devices, and Iman Gaji's vlogs, where he would show his path of building one, so that you understand how unserious all of it really was. I also had no offer. I had no clue what to offer, no clients, and the most ridiculous one, I think, no real idea what I was even supposed to do for somebody as a social media marketing agency service provider, right? Which is kind of a big problem when you already decided you're starting a business without asking what business you are starting. But because the life around it so intense and productive, I could avoid noticing that for quite a while. Since I had a website, I had a name for it, I wanted to call it Vision Builder. I had, once again, a cool wallpaper, probably some 50-meter Benetti yacht with a guy standing next to it, right? And I also had this playlist of Iman Gaji's videos that I could watch until my brain would melt. That is why Seneca's quote gets kind of weird for me, because he is not saying directly that wind is useless or that you should sit around and wait until you get some perfect answer to your problems and about what to do with your life. But there has to be somewhere you're trying to go before start calling every gust progress, right? For me specifically, the gym was wind. Waking up early was wind. Reading, and crossing things off a list. Making videos. Watching business content. All of that was just wind. And even the motivation I got from, seeing someone online who had built a life that looked good at a pretty young age was wind. Which is why, I could sometimes spend period feel like I was moving incredibly fast, while the thing I said that I was actually building did not even exist yet, or even on paper, right? And looking back at the agency situation, I think I had basically copied the scenery before I really knew what was happening behind it, what should have been happening behind it, because I knew how I wanted the laptop, the freedom, the money, the traveling, this whole, young guy building this empire for himself. But I guess what I never did, I had never stopped and asked what service I was learning to provide, who I wanted to help, or whether would I would still want any of it after those yacht wallpapers are gone. Behind the same Iman Gaji success, another thousand entrepreneurs are there. There must have been a bunch of learning, 1,000 rejections, clients who were probably annoying as hell, right? And day to day just doing the job when nothing in your life looked even close to impressive or worthy of respect. And I was copying probably everything except the part that would have told me whether I simply liked it. And I guess what I would like to underscore right now is I'm not trying to say that you should never watch people you admire, because that would be stupid. I have started so many things in my life because I saw somebody do something and thought, wait, this is, actually possible. I did not even know this could be a life somebody builds. But I guess there's this really, really thin line between getting curious about somebody's work and borrowing their entire identity. Because your identity does not feel good enough yet. And I think I personally was doing the second sin. I was just insecure, right? And the routine I built was made it incredibly easy to miss, because it was not just me looking at yacht pictures all day. I was waking up early, training, eating properly, researching, filming, editing, and then when I felt insecure about whether I was doing it enough, it could happen in any moment, right? I had all these little things I could point at, this proof, even, if really none of them brought this imaginative agency, even 1 centimeter closer to existing outside my head. So now, what I try to do differently is when I catch myself preparing too much for something, I sit very calmly and try to ask an annoying question. Can I explain what I'm trying to do without mentioning this pretty image around it I built? Without the room, the camera, the title, the country, the clothes, the yacht, the money, the routine, or whatever people can see from outside. And then, would I still want it to do it when it's repetitive? When I'm bad at it, when I suck at it, when, nobody cares. And usually nobody cares, right? And another question that right now that I started filming YouTube, when it does not make a cool video yet as well. And the thing is I don't really have some perfect, answer figured out. And I wouldn't say I know my harbour completely. I'm 20 right now, and I would be worried, I guess, if I thought I had my whole life mapped out already. But at least I think I can say pretty confidently what I'm doing in normal sentence. I'm Michael, I'm 20, I create content, I edit it, I write, I try to understand why something worked or didn't work, I learn how to communicate better, I read out loud, I write 1 page a day, I do UGC outreach, and then I wake up and do some or the other version of that again. Most of it is boring. There is, no crazy feeling attached to it most of the days, and no yacht wallpapers anymore or success movies telling me I'm about to become somebody. I actually stopped watching, Scarface and all of these movies that supposed to set you up for success, because it just fools your brain most of the time. And all of this is maybe why I trust it more now, because I can wake up at 5:30, train every day, watch, every David Goggins podcast ever made. There are a bunch of them. Have the most insane routine in the world, and still spend months or even years becoming, somebody in my head, instead of doing actual work in reality. That was Michael. It was great to see you as always. Bye.